He always said I was too emotional. That's what made it so easy for him to twist everything, to make everyone think I was the problem. For years, I believed it. Until the day I found the folder. The one with my name on it. The one that changed everything. Alright, let me take a deep breath before I start this one, because this story? It's the kind of thing that makes your jaw lock halfway between a laugh and a scream. I'm 22 years old. My dad is 46. My stepmother, Tracy, is 43. She's got 2 grown kids, Brandon, 25, and Sierra, 21. And yes, those are fake names, because if they ever saw this, I'd need witness protection. Before we get to the screaming in the kitchen part, let me rewind a bit. This isn't just a story about rent, it's about years of quiet resentment that finally exploded like a spaghetti pot left on high heat. I lost my mom to breast cancer when I was 8. She was everything to me. My dad fell apart, and honestly, who could blame him? My grandparents, my mom's parents, stepped in like actual angels. They basically moved into the house to help raise me while dad tried to keep his business from collapsing and just breathe again. That house wasn't some ordinary house either. It was a huge, beautiful 4-bedroom in one of the nicer neighborhoods in Boston. My grandparents bought it years ago. The plan was for us all to live there together. It was their way of making sure I'd always be cared for. And for a while, it really did feel like a warm, safe nest. Then Tracy happened. Dad met her 2 years after Mom died at some business conference in Chicago. He was there talking consulting, she was there coordinating events. He said they clicked instantly. I call it what it was, a sad widower with a business and a house, and a woman who knew how to spot an opportunity. 3 months later, she moved across the country. 6 months after that? They were married. 6 months. Red flags waving like a parade. She brought her 2 kids with her. Brandon was already a spoiled little jerk at 11, and Sierra, at 7, was okay at first. But Tracy slowly molded her into her perfect little clone, same entitled attitude, same I don't do chores energy. My grandparents tried to play nice, but I overheard late-night whispers. They didn't trust her. They thought she was after Dad's money. And they were right. They just didn't want to crush the first bit of happiness Dad had shown in years. At first, Tracy started small. This house is so old-fashioned. The kitchen needs a remodel. These decorations are collecting dust. You get the idea. Then it got worse. She started moving furniture around without asking. Tossed out my mom's old decor. Slowly, she took over. My grandparents were too kind to fight back. My dad was too in love, or too blind, to see what was happening. And the chores? Oh, those came next. At first, it was everyone should help around the house. But guess what? Everyone magically met me. Brandon was too busy with sports. Sierra was too young. By 12, I was the maid. Tracy used to swipe a finger over the baseboards to check for dust like we were living in some royal palace. Meanwhile, Brandon's room smelled like Axe body spray mixed with death, and Sierra's floor looked like a laundry tornado had passed through. But here's the real kicker, the part that changed everything. When my grandma passed in 2019, and my grandpa followed 3 months later, he couldn't live without her, something none of us talked about came to light. My grandparents had transferred the deed to the house. To me. Legally. It's mine. My dad knew, but I didn't. Tracy? She had no clue. For years, I was basically Cinderella, cooking, cleaning, washing Brandon's crusty gym socks, without even realizing I owned the house everyone was mooching off of. Brandon barely scraped through college and hasn't done a day of real work since. He's a content creator with 200 TikTok followers and a Fortnite stream watched by 3 people, one of whom is probably his mom. Sierra's in her 3rd year of college, studying business, which seems to mean partying, drinking Starbucks, and maxing out dad's credit cards. Meanwhile, I was working part-time at Starbucks, taking online classes, trying to save whatever I could, while Tracy kept making snide comments about me, contributing to the household. Then came the day. I dragged myself home from an 8-hour shift where some lady nearly bit my head off over almond milk. I was dead tired. But did I get to rest? Of course not. I was in the kitchen making spaghetti because God forbid Brandon gets up from his gaming chair or Sierra puts down her phone to lift a finger. That's when Tracy walked in, wearing one of her fancy dresses that looked straight out of Ross clearance, and sat down at the kitchen island with that look. You know the one teachers give you when they've already decided you're guilty. She just watched me cook for a second, then hit me with, "We need to talk about your living situation." I almost dropped the wooden spoon. She goes on, real serious, "Your father and I have been talking, and we think it's time you started paying rent. After all, you're working now. It's not fair for you to live here for free while we cover your bills." Excuse me? I'm standing there, trying to wrap my brain around this, while upstairs Brandon is yelling at his game about his KD ratio and Sierra's TikTok audio is blaring through the house. I ask, very calmly, because I wasn't trying to start World War III just yet, what about Brandon and Sierra? Are they paying rent too? She actually dabbed at her mouth with a napkin she wasn't even using, like some Real Housewives wannabe, and said, "That's different. They're my children. They're still establishing themselves. Brandon's pursuing content creation, and Sierra is focused on her education." I wanted to laugh right in her face. Brandon's career is dancing badly on TikTok. Sierra hasn't cracked open a textbook since orientation. But then she laid it out, $800 a month, plus utilities, and I'd still have to keep doing chores around the house. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. It was like one of those movie scenes where everything goes quiet, and suddenly, it all makes sense. Every snide comment. Every dish scrubbed. Every time I picked up Sierra's fake lashes from the bathroom floor or washed Brandon's socks that smelled like expired cheese. For the first time in years, I wasn't tired. I was furious. And I knew, right then, that things were about to change. So I calmly switched off the burner, because if there's one thing I wasn't about to do, it was let spaghetti be the casualty of Tracy's nonsense. I set the spoon down, wiped my hands on a dish towel, and locked eyes with her over-botoxed forehead. Let me get this straight, I said, my voice disturbingly steady for someone on the verge of combustion. Brandon, who hasn't earned a single cent since college and spends his days yelling at 12-year-olds on Xbox, doesn't pay rent. Sierra, who maxes out her credit cards buying shine hauls and acts like a vacuum is a foreign object, doesn't pay rent. But I do. Her mouth twitched in this weird, jerky way. Botox glitching. She launched into this speech about how I was more established, how family helps family, and some other Pinterest mom nonsense she probably picked up from a Facebook group called Boss Moms Who Manifest. And that's when I decided to drop my own little nuke. But first, I wanted an audience. If we were going to do this, we were doing it properly. I told her to gather everyone in the dining room. She hesitated, probably sensing the shift in my energy, but agreed. Brandon groaned like getting off his chair was torture. Sierra acted like lifting herself off the couch might drain her last drop of oxygen. But eventually, they all shuffled in. The pasta was cold by then. I didn't care. I'd lost my appetite somewhere between rent and family helps family. Tracy sat at the head of the table like some budget version of a CEO, explaining her brilliant plan, $800 a month from me. Brandon was smirking like he'd already spent the imaginary money on V-Bucks. Sierra had her phone out, recording for her relatable family drama series, which had maybe 50 followers on a good day. And then I said it. I'm not paying rent, I told them, leaning back in my chair. Because this house belongs to me. You could have heard a pin drop. The silence was glorious. Brandon froze mid-bite, a sad little strand of spaghetti dangling from his fork. Sierra's jaw dropped so far I half expected it to hit the table. And Tracy, her face was like a computer stuck on the loading wheel. Total system failure. Then came the laughter. Oh, they thought this was comedy hour. Brandon snorted so hard pasta sauce dripped down his chin. Good one, he wheezed. Sierra held up her phone like she'd just caught peak family content. Tracy forced out this awkward laugh, but I could already see the panic bubbling behind her fake smile. I just got declined at Nordstrom Rack face. What are you talking about, she said, voice trembling. This house belongs to me and your father. I leaned back further, calm as a movie villain right before delivering the knockout line. Why don't you call Dad and ask him? She whipped out her phone so fast her acrylic nails made little clacking noises. Of course, she put it on speaker, because Tracy loves an audience when she thinks she's winning. The phone rang a few times. Dad picked up, sounding tired, probably from working while his stepson was building his brand. Mark, she purred, like she was trying to charm a hotel concierge into a free upgrade. Lucy's saying some very interesting things about the house. She says it belongs to her. That's not true, right? And then, silence. I could hear him clearing his throat, that awkward throat clear he does whenever Tracy corners him. Finally, well, actually, my in-laws put the house in Lucy's name before they passed. Boom. Tracy's face went through more colors than a mood ring at a middle school sleepover. First red. Then white. Then this weird shade of green that honestly, I didn't know humans could turn. What do you mean they put it in her name, she screeched. When were you going to tell me this? Dad's voice was soft. I didn't think it was that important. Classic Dad. Tracy shot up, her chair scraping against the floor. You didn't think it was important to tell me your teenage daughter owns our house? She hung up mid-sentence, slamming the phone onto the table so hard I genuinely hoped the screen cracked. Brandon wasn't laughing anymore. His pale face said it all, the game room he'd been yelling at me to stay out of? Yeah. Mine. Sierra still had her phone out, but she looked like a deer caught in a ring light. I could practically see the TikTok drafts disintegrating in her head. Tracy's breathing got heavier, like she'd just sprinted a marathon in fake Louboutins. She tried to steady her voice. Well, clearly this was a misunderstanding. Of course you don't have to pay rent, Lucy. Let's just forget this conversation happened. But I was done forgetting. Done letting these people live rent-free, literally and figuratively, in my house. I smiled, slow and deliberate. Oh, we're definitely not forgetting this conversation. In fact, I let the pause stretch just enough to make her squirm. I think it's time we had a serious talk about your living situation. The look on her face? Better than any Christmas present I've ever gotten. And as she sat there, vibrating with panic, her phone started buzzing, texts from my dad, no doubt confirming every word I'd just said. She ignored them. Probably because she already knew she'd lost. That night, I slept like a baby. Not the kind of sleep where you toss and turn. I mean the good kind, the, I just told my lifelong bullies to get off my property kind. But Tracy? Oh no. She wasn't done. The next morning, I crept down the stairs, and sure enough, her voice floated out of the kitchen. She was on speakerphone with Dad again, because of course she was. Mark, she hissed, you have to do something about this problem. Your daughter is causing chaos. Dad sighed, sounding as tired as I felt after double shifts at Starbucks. What do you want me to do, Tracy? She applied to out-of-state schools, didn't she? Convince her to go. Tell her it'll be good for her independence. I had to clamp a hand over my mouth to keep from laughing out loud. She was really trying to evict me from my own house. Tracy switched to her fake sugary voice. Think about it, Mark. She's young. She needs to live her life. And honestly, she threw in a pause for effect. I'm worried about her mental health. I nearly burst out laughing. My mental health? Lady, the only thing making me lose brain cells is living with the villain from every Disney movie combined. And then my dad said it. Maybe you're right. I'll talk to her about moving out for college. It might be better for everyone. I actually had to bite my fist to keep from screaming. My own dad, the man I'd taken care of after mom died, was ready to help this woman push me out of my own home. So I walked into the kitchen like I hadn't heard a thing. Tracy almost dropped her phone. She was in her silk robe, fake, obviously, sipping from that world's best mom mug Brandon and Sierra got her from the dollar store. She clutched it like it was fine china. Good morning, sweetie, she cooed like she hadn't just tried to ship me off. I made coffee. No, she didn't. She stuck a K-cup in the Keurig I bought with my Starbucks paycheck. Brandon shuffled in looking like a zombie after streaming to his 3 followers. Sierra floated in next, already in full glam. It takes her 2 hours every morning, and no one knows why. I just stood there, calm as ever, sipping my coffee from my machine, in my house, watching the 3 freeloaders who had no idea their eviction notice was basically already signed. Because this was just the beginning. We're all sitting around the breakfast table, my breakfast table, in my house, eating a meal that I cooked. Because let's be honest, Tracy's culinary skills start and end with a microwave and a soggy lean cuisine. The tension is thick. Like, cut it with a butter knife thick. Brandon's shoveling cereal into his mouth like it's his last meal on earth, scrolling through TikTok with the kind of intensity usually reserved for actual work. Sierra's taking about 50 pictures of her untouched avocado toast, trying to get the perfect aesthetic shot for Instagram. And Tracy? She's pretending to check emails on her phone, but I can see the screen reflected in the toaster. She's literally Googling how to evict someone who legally owns the house. Tracy, I said sweetly, sipping my coffee. You're not exactly subtle with that phone angle. She stiffened, and I could practically hear the gears in her Botox-frozen forehead creak. That's when I decided to really have some fun. Hey, Tracy, I said casually, like I was just talking about the weather. I was thinking about what you said yesterday. About rent. Her head snapped up like a meerkat spotting danger. She thought this was her big win. She thought I was backing down. I suppose you're right, I continued smoothly. People should pay rent to live here. For 2 glorious seconds, her whole face softened. She actually looked relieved. And then I dropped it. I did some calculations, I said, pulling out my phone like I was about to read from a PowerPoint presentation. Based on market rates in this neighborhood, I think $1,200 per person per month is pretty fair. So that's $3,600 total, for you, Brandon, and Sierra. Not including utilities, of course. Oh, and there will be a security deposit. Chaos. Real, delicious chaos. Brandon actually choked on his frosted flakes, coughing like a cartoon character. Sierra dropped her avocado toast, face down, onto her brand new white crop top. I swear, karma has never worked faster in my entire life. And Tracy? Her face went so pale I thought she might faint right there at the table. You can't be serious, she sputtered. We're family. Oh, I'm dead serious, I said. Then I pulled out the ace I'd been saving. And speaking of family, why don't we talk about your little phone call with Dad this morning? I tapped play. Her own sugary, manipulative voice filled the kitchen. Brandon and Sierra stared back and forth between us like they were watching the world's most uncomfortable tennis match. Tracy's color drained so fast, it was almost artistic. She shot up from her chair so quickly that her precious world's best mom mug went flying across the counter. By some miracle, it didn't shatter. She, however, was a different story. You recorded me? She screeched. I smiled. Actually, Tracy, this is a one-party consent state. I checked. Also, I leaned forward, lowering my voice just a touch. My house, my rules. Brandon was frozen, milk trickling down his chin like a toddler. Sierra was furiously texting someone, probably that sad little TikTok group chat where she pretends to be rich. Tracy started pacing the kitchen, her knockoff Gucci slides making that awful flap-flap sound on the tiles I scrubbed yesterday. She muttered something about calling her lawyer cousin. You know, the guy who does DUI cases in a strip mall. Then she switched tactics. She lowered her voice into that fake, concerned tone she uses when she's trying to get customer service to make an exception. Lucy, she cooed, I know you're upset, but this behavior? It's not healthy. Your father and I are only trying to help you. Maybe some time away at college would be good for you. There's this beautiful school in Michigan. Tracy, I interrupted, my voice firm now, let me make something very clear. I'm not going anywhere. This is my house. The deed is in my name. And if anyone's leaving, I leaned back with a grin. It's not going to be me. That's when she lost it. You ungrateful little, yeah, I'm not repeating what she called me. It definitely wasn't, sweetheart. She started ranting about how she raised me like her own, which is funny considering her version of motherhood was making me the unpaid maid. She talked about all her sacrifices, like shopping at TJ Maxx instead of Nordstrom. Oh, the horror. Meanwhile, Brandon and Sierra were melting down like ice cream in July. This is Bulls ****, Brandon snapped. I'm not paying rent. I'm about to blow up on Twitch. Narrator, he was not about to blow up on Twitch. Sierra shrieked, Daddy won't let you do this. He loves us more than some stupid house. Spoiler alert, he does not. I just sipped my coffee, because Tracy doesn't know how to use a French press, and watched the panic unfold like a live episode of some messy reality show. Every ounce of entitlement they'd built their lives on was crumbling in real time. And then Tracy grabbed her phone, her last hope. She called Dad, expecting him to swoop in and fix everything like he always did. But here's the thing, I'd been messaging Dad all morning. I sent him the recording. I laid everything out. And for the first time in a very long time, Dad was on my side. She put him on speaker. "Mark, you need to come home right now," she wailed. "Your daughter is out of control." Dad's voice was calm. Firm, even. "Tracy, we need to respect that it's her house. Maybe we should start looking for a new place." The silence that followed? Chef's kiss. You could practically hear Brandon's brain cells trying, and failing, to process it. Tracy's face went on a full emotional roller coaster: shock, rage, disbelief, and finally, pure fear. Real, gut-deep fear. Because it finally hit her, her little empire of manipulation was crumbling. Then she made her final, fatal mistake. She stormed up to me, got right in my face, and hissed, "Listen here, you little b********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* here for 12 years, and no spoiled brat is going to kick me out. I'll make your life hell. I didn't even flinch. Perfect, I said softly. Because I've been recording this entire conversation too. And I've already spoken to a lawyer. Turns out, my grandparents didn't just leave me the house, they left behind airtight legal protections. A trust. Paperwork that made it impossible for Tracy or anyone else to contest ownership. My lawyer actually laughed out loud when I showed her Tracy's legal threats. So the next day, I went nuclear. I served them all with official eviction notices. Court-stamped. Legal. Ironclad. Tracy's reaction was priceless, like watching someone get hit with a snowball they never saw coming. She tried refusing the papers, but that's not how the law works. Brandon hurled his gaming chair down the stairs in protest. It broke. I didn't cry. Sierra went on Instagram Live to have a meltdown, picked up 200 pity followers. Congratulations, I guess? Tracy called every lawyer in town. But in a small town? Word spreads fast. Nobody would touch her case. Even her DUI cousin backed out. Then she tried the Facebook pity parade. Long, dramatic post about her evil stepdaughter kicking her out of her home. But mom's old friend Elise, bless that woman, pulled out years' worth of receipts and screenshots. Publicly. Tracy's little narrative fell apart in about 3 comments flat. Her country club friends started ghosting her. Turns out, no one wants to be seen lunching with someone who's about to be homeless. Meanwhile, Brandon finally realized Twitch streamer isn't a career when you have 247 followers and no talent. Sierra's private story got leaked, and suddenly her luxury lifestyle didn't look so luxurious anymore. The house was mine. The power was mine. And for the first time in years, I was finally free from being their doormat. The real fireworks started when Tracy pulled what she clearly thought was her final power move. She waited until I left for my shift, probably thinking she was starring in some kind of heist movie. By reorganizing, what she really meant was stuffing my late mother's jewelry, pieces my grandparents had saved for me, into her tacky Michael Kors purse. Too bad for her. I'd installed security cameras right after I served the eviction notice. Big shout out to Reddit for that advice. When I got the alert on my phone and saw her on camera sliding my mom's antique necklaces into her bag, I didn't even hesitate. I called the cops. I filed a report. I showed them the footage. She tried her usual fake crying routine, voice cracking, dabbing at her eyes, but even the cop, this older woman with zero patience for drama, wasn't buying it. The waterproof mascara wasn't running, so the performance fell flat. Tracy tried to pull the "but we're family" card, and the officer shut her down so fast it was beautiful. "Ma'am," she said, deadpan. "Stealing from the legal owner of the house is not a family matter." I didn't press charges, yet, but having that incident on record? Perfect for the eviction case. My lawyer was practically glowing. And here's where it got even juicier. Remember how Tracy used to brag about her investment accounts and independent wealth? Yeah, complete fabrication. She had nowhere to go. She was panicking. She even tried calling my aunt, dad's sister, for help, and my aunt, who's hated Tracy since day one, just texted her a link to apartments in the sketchiest part of town. For half a second I felt a flicker of guilt. Then I remembered the Christmas my mom's heirloom ornaments accidentally ended up at Goodwill. Guilt gone. Even dad had finally had enough. He told her that if she didn't leave peacefully, he wasn't going with her. 12 years too late, but hey, better late than never. Then came her grand exit. The day before the final eviction deadline, she called a family meeting. Yeah, family. I almost laughed out loud. She strutted in wearing this fake Chanel suit, the pattern was wrong, the stitching was tragic, acting like she was the star of some courtroom drama. She started delivering this Oscar-worthy monologue about taking the high road and how she was choosing to leave because she refused to live in negativity. Right. Because legal eviction is apparently a noble act now. And then, oh, this part is gold, she dropped what she thought was her trump card. "Your father and I have decided to move to Florida," she announced dramatically. "We just bought a beautiful house in Tampa. Much nicer than this old place." Lies. I had literally seen her GoFundMe page the night before, titled Family and Crisis Housing Needs. It had $43 in it, mostly from her MLM friends trying to look supportive. Also, dad wasn't even there. He checked into a hotel after watching his wife try to steal from his dead wife's jewelry box. And right in the middle of her faux elegant speech, the movers I hired showed up. Mike, the head mover, absolute legend, walked in with his team carrying crates and dollies, looking like a SWAT unit for entitled people. Tracy froze mid-sentence. Botox and rage combined into one glorious, stiff expression. She started screeching about not being ready and needing more time. Mike didn't even blink. "Ma'am," he said flatly, "we have strict instructions." Everything gets packed and moved to your storage unit today. If you want your stuff, take it up with the court. It was like watching the Wicked Witch melt. Sierra freaked out because her precious TikTok backdrop was being dismantled. Brandon was on the floor trying to unplug his gaming setup like a man defusing a bomb. Tracy was grabbing random junk and calling it family heirlooms, including a ceramic bowl she'd once tried to throw away. And me? I was on the couch, sipping coffee, just watching. Within minutes, my phone blew up with DMs from people I went to high school with. OMG, I always knew she was fake. Girl, I live for this drama. Turns out schadenfreude is real. Final inventory of the Great Escape attempt. 3 of my mother's necklaces, caught on camera. My grandmother's china set, also on camera. My nice coffee maker that I paid for with my Starbucks paycheck. Every single towel in the house? Why? The garage door opener. But honestly, they can keep the towels. I bought nicer ones anyway. Tracy would have just called them too expensive while buying fake designer bags. Eviction day itself? Absolute perfection. The sheriff's deputy did the final walkthrough. Tracy tried to claim I damaged her things during the move. The deputy just glanced at my security cameras and asked, "Would you like to file a false report on record?" She shut up real fast. Where are they now? Tracy and my dad are crashing at her sister's tiny 2-bedroom apartment. Her sister posted a salty Facebook status about ungrateful houseguests who don't clean up. Oops. Brandon sold his gaming setup to afford a deposit on a sketchy room share. He now works at GameStop. Honestly, maybe that'll be good for him. Sierra tried living with her sorority sisters but lasted a week before they got tired of her drama. Now she commutes 2 hours to college from her aunt's house. Her last TikTok was about being humbled. The comment section is brutal. Me? The house is finally quiet. No more fake perfume clouding the air. No more passive-aggressive sticky notes about the dishwasher. No more 3 a.m. screaming from Brandon's gaming. I turned Brandon's old room into a home office, Sierra's into a dream closet, and Tracy's so-called meditation room into a yoga studio. Dad calls sometimes. He's still with Tracy, for now, but he sounds tired. For once, he's actually seeing what the rest of us saw 12 years ago. She's a gold digger who isn't even good at it. And the best part? My mom's best friend, Elise, the one who kept receipts all these years, is renting one of the spare rooms. She's teaching me my mom's old recipes, helping me rebuild what Tracy tried to erase. Sometimes the best things grow from the ugliest soil. Was I harsh? Maybe. Do I regret it? Not for a single second. They played a stupid game. They won a very stupid prize. And karma? She showed up wearing real designer.